The awakening signal, Dr. Elena Vasquez pressed her palm against the cold metal wall of Nexus Station's observation deck. Through the reinforced glass, countless stars sparkled like scattered diamonds against the endless black of space. She had been the chief xenobiologist here for 8 years, studying the diverse alien species that made up the Galactic Alliance. Tonight felt different somehow, though she couldn't explain why. The communication device on her wrist buzzed softly. "Dr. Vasquez, please report to the sensor array immediately," came the voice of Lieutenant Torres from the operations center. There was something urgent in his tone that made Elena's pulse quicken. She made her way through the station's curved corridors, passing groups of aliens from dozens of different worlds. The Nexus Station served as a hub for scientific research and diplomatic meetings between the 47 species that formed the Galactic Alliance. Humans were still considered newcomers, having joined only 200 years ago when they first achieved faster-than-light travel. The sensor array buzzed with activity when Elena arrived. Lieutenant Torres, a young man with worried eyes, gestured toward the main display screen. "We picked up something strange about an hour ago," he said. "It's a signal, but unlike anything we've ever recorded." Elena studied the waveform patterns dancing across the screen. The signal was incredibly faint, coming from the edge of known space. What caught her attention was its mathematical precision. "This isn't natural," she whispered. "Someone built this." "That's what we thought too," Torres replied. "But here's the strange part. Our computers ran the signal through every known communication protocol in the Alliance database. Nothing matched. Then we tried the historical archives." Elena looked up sharply. "And?" "It matches ancient human transmission codes from over 20,000 years ago, before Earth was destroyed." The words hit Elena like a physical blow. Every human child learned the story of Earth's destruction in school. Their homeworld had been consumed by an unknown enemy millennia before humans developed space travel. The few survivors had scattered to distant worlds, eventually evolving into the humans who now lived throughout the galaxy. But 20,000 years was an impossibly long time. Nothing could survive that long in space. "Where exactly is this signal coming from?" Elena asked. Torres manipulated the display, showing a star map with a pulsing red dot at its edge. "Here, in the void sector. It's a region of empty space between galaxy arms. No stars, no planets, nothing but cosmic dust." Elena stared at the coordinates. The void sector was forbidden territory, not because of any law or treaty, but because it was considered a graveyard. Ships that ventured too far into that region simply disappeared. Most scientists believed it was filled with gravitational anomalies or dark matter phenomena that destroyed anything that entered. "We need to investigate," Elena said finally. "With respect, Doctor, that's not our decision to make," Torres replied. "I've already contacted Commander Morrison. He's on his way." Commander Rex Morrison arrived 30 minutes later, his military uniform crisp despite the late hour. At 45, he was one of the youngest humans to command a deep space exploration vessel. His ship, the Endeavor, was currently docked at Nexus Station for routine maintenance. "Show me what you found," Morrison said without preamble. Elena walked him through their discovery. As she spoke, she watched Morrison's expression grow more serious. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "The timing is interesting," he said finally. 3 weeks ago, long-range sensors detected unusual energy readings from the void sector. Command dismissed them as sensor ghosts, but now..." He paused. "I want to take the Endeavor out there." "Sir, that's extremely dangerous," Torres protested. "No ship has ever returned from a deep reconnaissance of that region." Morrison smiled grimly. "Then it's time someone did. Dr. Vasquez, I want you on my crew for this mission. If we're really dealing with ancient human technology, I'll need your expertise." 2 days later, the Endeavor departed Nexus Station with a crew of 30 beings from 12 different species. Elena had never been on such a diverse crew before. There was Zixtar, a brilliant Rigelian engineer whose 6 arms allowed him to work on multiple systems simultaneously. Commander Sector, A reptilian Vonthan who served as the ship's tactical officer, brought centuries of military experience. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a human archaeologist, joined the mission to help interpret any artifacts they might discover. The journey to the void sector took 4 days at maximum warp. As they traveled deeper into the empty region between galaxies, the crew grew increasingly tense. Space seemed different here, darker somehow, as if the very fabric of reality was thinner. "Contact!" shouted Ensign Park from the sensor station. "Massive object bearing 27 Mark IV, distance 50,000 kilometers." The main view screen shifted to show their target. Elena gasped. Floating in the void was a ship unlike anything she had ever seen. It was enormous, easily 20 times the size of the Endeavour. Its hull was a dark gray metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The design was clearly ancient, with smooth curves and elegant lines that spoke of advanced engineering. "My God," whispered Dr. Tanaka. "It's a generation ship. A colony vessel designed for extremely long journeys." Morrison leaned forward in his command chair. "Any signs of life?" "Minimal power readings," reported Zixtar from the engineering station. "Life support systems appear to be running on emergency power. There are definite signs of habitation, but I'm detecting thousands of individual biosignatures." "Thousands?" Elena asked. "Are they alive?" "The readings are consistent with cryogenic suspension," Zixtar replied. "They appear to be in some form of hibernation." Morrison made his decision quickly. "We're going aboard. Dr. Vasquez, Dr. Tanaka, Zixtar, you're with me. Everyone else maintains yellow alert and keeps our escape route clear." The away team transferred to a shuttle and approached the ancient vessel. Up close, its size was even more impressive. Elena estimated it was at least 5 kilometers long. As they searched for a docking port, she noticed strange markings on the hull, symbols that looked almost familiar. "Those are human characters," Dr. Tanaka said, pointing to the markings. "But they're older than any script I've ever studied. Pre-diaspora, definitely." They found a functioning airlock and managed to interface their shuttle's systems with the ancient ship's computers. The process took nearly an hour, with Zixtar working tirelessly to establish a connection between technologies separated by 20 millennia. "I'm in," he announced finally. "Artificial gravity and life support are stable in the main corridors. Atmospheric composition is within acceptable parameters for human biology." They entered the ship in single file, emergency lights flickering on as they moved. The corridors were vast and empty, clearly designed to accommodate large numbers of people. Elena noticed that everything was built to human proportions: doorways, control panels, even the height of the railings. "This way," Dr. Tanaka said, consulting a crude map they had downloaded from the ship's computer. "The main habitation areas should be in the central section." They walked for what felt like hours, through empty corridors and deserted chambers. Finally, they reached a massive circular room filled with thousands of cylindrical pods. Each pod was connected to a complex network of tubes and cables. Soft blue lights pulsed rhythmically from within. "Cryogenic chambers," Elena breathed. "They're all in suspended animation." Zixtar moved to the nearest control console, his multiple arms working quickly to access the ship's systems. "According to these readings, there are approximately 50,000 humans in suspension. They've been here for..." He paused, checking his calculations. 19,147 years. "That's impossible," Morrison said. "No technology could maintain life support for that long." "Human technology could," said a new voice behind them. The away team spun around in surprise. A woman stood in the doorway, clearly human but somehow different. She was tall and pale, with silver hair that seemed to move on its own. Her eyes held a depth that spoke of incredible age and sadness. "Who are you?" Morrison demanded, his hand moving to his weapon. "My name is Captain Sarah Chen," the woman replied. "I am the guardian of this vessel, the New Horizon. We are the last survivors of Earth." Elena stepped forward. "That's impossible. Earth was destroyed over 20,000 years ago." "Destroyed by the Devourers," Sarah confirmed. "We were the only ship that escaped. We've been drifting in the void ever since, waiting for the galaxy to develop the technology necessary to fight them. The Devourers? Dr. Tanaka asked. Sarah's expression grew dark. Self-replicating machines from outside our galaxy. They consume entire worlds, converting all matter into more of themselves. They destroyed Earth, Mars, the outer colonies, everything. We've been hiding here, keeping watch, waiting for the right moment to make contact with the surviving human populations. Why now? Morrison asked. Sarah walked to a nearby view screen and activated it. The display showed a star map of the galaxy, with several red dots moving slowly inward from the outer rim. Because they've found us again, she said quietly. The Devourers are returning. Our sensors detected their advanced scouts 3 months ago. They're already in the galaxy, and they're heading for the core worlds where billions of beings now live. Elena felt her blood turn cold. How long do we have? Based on their current rate of advancement, perhaps 6 months before they reach the first inhabited systems. 1 year before they arrive at the galactic core. Sarah turned to face them directly. We need to wake our people. After 20,000 years of preparation, it's time for humanity to fulfill its destiny. Morrison activated his communicator. Morrison to Endeavor. Prepare for immediate departure. Set course for Nexus Station, maximum warp. Sir? Came the reply from his bridge crew. We're bringing passengers, Morrison said grimly. 50,000 of them, and we need to warn the Alliance. The war that destroyed Earth is about to begin again. As alarms began sounding throughout the ancient ship, Elena watched thousands of cryogenic pods beginning their awakening sequence. Humanity's long sleep was finally over. The question now was whether 20,000 years of hiding had been enough time to find a way to win. Humanity's last stand. 3 months after the discovery of the New Horizon, the galaxy had transformed into a fortress. Every major world buzzed with activity as species that had never worked together, now labored side by side, preparing for an enemy none of them truly understood. Elena stood in the command center of the newly constructed Titan station, the largest military installation ever built. Through the massive viewport, she could see the combined fleets of the Galactic Alliance, over 10,000 ships from 47 different worlds, all united under a single purpose: survival. Status report, called Admiral Korth, the reptilian, Vanthon, who now served as Supreme Commander of Allied forces. His scaled hide bore the scars of a dozen conflicts, but Elena could see uncertainty in his golden eyes. This was unlike any war he had ever fought. Long-range sensors confirmed Devourer presence in the outer rim, reported Commander Sector from the tactical station. They've already consumed the Kepler system. 3 billion Altarians, gone. A heavy silence fell over the command center. The Altarians had been one of the oldest spacefaring races in the galaxy. To lose them so quickly was a devastating blow to morale. What about the evacuation efforts? Admiral Korth asked. Proceeding as planned, Elena replied, consulting her datapad. Captain Chen's people have been invaluable in organizing the refugee fleets. Their knowledge of Devourer tactics has saved countless lives. Captain Sarah Chen had become something of a legend in the 3 months since her awakening. The 20,000-year-old human seemed to be everywhere at once, advising military commanders, sharing ancient technology, and preparing the galaxy for a war that her people alone had survived before. Incoming transmission from Scout Fleet Beta, announced the communications officer. Priority 1. The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of a battered exploration vessel. The captain, a blue-skinned Andromedian, looked exhausted and terrified. This is Captain Veltar of the survey ship Distant Star, he said. We've completed reconnaissance of the Devourer advance force, transmitting tactical data now. Elena watched in horror as the data appeared on secondary screens. The Devourer fleet was massive, thousands of ships, each one a perfect killing machine designed for a single purpose: consumption. They moved in perfect formation, their black hulls absorbing all light like mechanical voids in space. They're not just ships, Captain Veltar continued. They're alive somehow. We watched them encounter a small asteroid field. Within hours, they had consumed every rock and turned the raw materials into more of themselves. They're growing stronger as they advance. Admiral Korth's claws scraped against his command chair. How long until they reach the core worlds? At current speed, 6 weeks, Veltar replied. But Admiral, there's something else. They're not just randomly consuming everything in their path. They're being selective, strategic. It's like they're looking for something. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. If the Devourers were being strategic, it meant they had intelligence, planning, purpose beyond simple consumption. We need Captain Chen, Admiral Korth said finally. Now. Sarah Chen arrived within minutes, moving with the fluid grace that all the awakened humans seemed to possess. The modifications they had made to themselves during their long exile were subtle, but noticeable. Enhanced reflexes, improved endurance, and an almost supernatural ability to process information quickly. "You've seen the reports?" Admiral Korth asked. Sarah nodded grimly. "The Devourers are hunting. They remember Earth, remember the humans who escaped. They're looking for us." "But why?" Elena asked. "What makes humanity so special to them?" Sarah walked to the main tactical display, her fingers dancing over the controls with practiced ease. "Because we're the only species that ever hurt them. When they destroyed Earth, we didn't just run. We fought back." The display shifted to show a star map of the ancient solar system. Sarah highlighted several points around Earth's former orbit, mice. Ancestors built a network of quantum resonance weapons, devices that could disrupt the Devourers' molecular cohesion and actually destroy them permanently. We managed to eliminate nearly a third of their invasion force before Earth fell. "What happened to these weapons?" Admiral Korth demanded. "They were destroyed with Earth," Sarah replied. "But the knowledge survived. Every human on the New Horizon carries the complete technical specifications in their enhanced memory. We've been waiting 20,000 years for the galaxy to develop the industrial capacity to build them again." Elena's mind raced. How long would it take to construct such weapons? With the combined resources of the Alliance? 4 weeks if we push. Every shipyard and manufacturing facility to maximum capacity. Admiral Korth's expression shifted from despair to grim determination. "Then we have our plan. All available resources will be redirected to weapon production immediately." The next 4 weeks passed in a blur of frantic activity. Elena found herself coordinating between dozens of worlds, each contributing their unique technological expertise to the massive construction project. The Rigelians provided their advanced metallurgy, the Centaurians offered their energy manipulation techniques, and the Vanthans contributed their superior manufacturing processes. But it was the awakened, humans who proved most valuable. Their enhanced memories contained not just the weapon specifications, but 20 millennia of accumulated knowledge gained during their exile in the void. They had spent centuries studying the Devourers, learning their weaknesses, developing countermeasures. Elena worked closely with Dr. Marcus Webb, one of the awakened humans who specialized in quantum physics. Despite being over 20,000 years old, he looked no older than 40, his modifications having essentially stopped the aging process. "The key is resonance frequency," Marcus explained as they stood in the main assembly bay, watching crews install the final components of their first quantum disruptor. "The Devourers exist in a state of controlled molecular cohesion. If we can match their specific frequency and then invert it, they'll tear themselves apart," Elena finished. "It's brilliant." "It's desperate," Marcus corrected grimly. "We'll only get one chance at this. If the Devourers adapt to our frequency, and they will eventually, the weapons will become useless." 3 days before the projected arrival of the Devourer main fleet, the first quantum disruptors came online. The Alliance had managed to construct 200 of the massive weapons, each one capable of destroying dozens of Devourer ships with a single pulse. It wasn't enough to eliminate the entire enemy fleet, but it might be enough to cripple them. Elena stood on the bridge of the Endeavor as the combined fleets took their positions along the galaxy's outer edge. Commander Morrison had volunteered his ship to carry one of the quantum disruptors, making it a priority target for the enemy. Long-range sensors detect massive energy signatures approaching, reported Ensign Park. The Devourer fleet will be in weapons range in 10 minutes. Elena watched the tactical display as thousands of red dots appeared at the edge of sensor range. The enemy fleet was even larger than their worst estimates, nearly 50,000 ships of various sizes, all moving with perfect coordination toward the Allied defensive line. "All ships, this is Admiral Korth," came the voice over the communication system. "Today we fight not just for our worlds, but for the very concept of organic life in this galaxy. The humans have given us the tools we need. Now we must have the courage to use them." The first Devourer ships entered weapons range, their dark hulls becoming visible on the main screen. They were beautiful in a terrifying way, perfect geometric forms that seemed to bend light around them. Quantum disruptors. "Charging," reported Zixtar from the engineering station. Resonance frequency locked and confirmed. Elena held her breath as the two fleets closed the distance between them. Traditional weapons fire began first, energy beams and projectiles that splashed harmlessly against Devourer shields. The enemy returned fire with devastating accuracy, their weapons punching through Alliance shields like they were paper. "Quantum disruptors at full charge," Zixtar announced. "Ready to fire on your command." Morrison looked at Elena, then at his crew. "For Earth," he said quietly. "Fire all weapons." Brilliant beams of twisted space-time erupted from the Alliance fleet. The quantum disruptors unleashed their fury, and Elena watched in amazement as entire sections of the Devourer fleet simply ceased to exist. Ships that had seemed invincible moments before collapsed in on themselves, their molecular bonds severed by the resonance weapons. But the victory was short-lived. The surviving Devourer ships began to adapt, their hulls shifting and changing to resist the quantum frequencies. Within minutes, the disruptors were having minimal effect. "They're adapting faster than we projected," Marcus reported over the communication system. "We need a new approach." It was Captain Sarah Chen who provided the answer. Her voice came over the fleet-wide channel, calm and determined. "All human ships, this is Chen. Initiate Protocol 7. Elena had never heard of Protocol 7, but she watched in amazement as every ship crewed primarily by awakened humans began moving toward the center of the Devourer fleet. Their vessels were outnumbered 100 to 1, but they advanced without hesitation. "What are they doing?" Morrison demanded. The answer came moments later as the human ships began to glow with the same energy signature as the Devourers themselves. Elena realized with growing horror what was happening. "They're turning themselves into living quantum disruptors," she whispered. "The modifications they made to their bodies, they can generate the resonance frequency internally." The sacrifice was immediate and devastating. As the awakened humans reached the heart of the Devourer fleet, they released all their stored energy. At once, the explosion created a cascading resonance effect that spread throughout the enemy formation, destroying thousands of Devourer ships in seconds. But the cost was terrible. In those moments, humanity lost 30,000 of its most ancient and wise members. Captain Sarah Chen and her people had given their lives to save a galaxy that most of them had never seen. The battle continued for another 6 hours, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. The Devourer fleet, crippled by the loss of over half their ships, began a fighting retreat toward the Galactic Rim. They would return eventually, but not for centuries. Elena stood in the observation lounge of Titan Station a week after the battle, watching memorial services being broadcast from dozens of worlds. The awakened humans had become legends overnight, beings who had waited 20,000 years for the chance to save the galaxy, and who had succeeded at the ultimate cost. "They knew, didn't they?" she asked Dr. Webb, who had survived the battle by remaining on Titan Station. "They knew from the beginning that it would require their sacrifice." Marcus nodded slowly. "Sarah and the others spent 2 decades planning. Protocol 7. They understood that the only way to generate enough resonance energy to cripple the Devourer fleet was to use their enhanced biology as a weapon. They accepted that fate the moment they agreed to wake up. Elena looked out at the stars, thinking of the 20,000 humans who had slept in the cold void for millennia, keeping watch over a galaxy they had never seen, preparing for a war they might not survive. Their sacrifice had saved billions of lives and dozens of civilizations. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we rebuild," Marcus replied. "We take the knowledge they died to preserve, and we make sure the galaxy is ready when the Devourers return. Because they will return, eventually." Elena nodded, understanding. Humanity had saved the galaxy, but the victory had come at a price that would be remembered for millennia. The species that had once been considered newcomers to the galactic community had proven themselves willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good. In the depths of space, the few surviving Devourer ships retreated toward the darkness between galaxies. They would return someday, but when they did, they would face a galaxy united by the memory of human sacrifice. A galaxy that would never forget the lesson learned in those terrible hours when 20,000 years of preparation culminated in humanity's finest and most tragic hour. The stars continued to shine, and life continued to flourish throughout the galaxy. And somewhere in the quantum foam that connected all things, the spirits of 50,000 humans who had waited 20 millennia for their moment of destiny finally found peace.